What you want? You want to say hi? You want to say hi? Say hi. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, welcome back to Better Off Read. Thank you so much for being here. If you are new here, which I'm assuming there's a very high chance that you are, please consider subscribing to my channel because I intend to post a lot more bookish content in the future. Today we are here to talk about what I think is going to be my May TBR. I say think and I already am gonna tell you to take this with a grain of salt because I am a very big mood reader. So these are more of like my May hopefuls rather than like a strict TBR because I read what I'm in the mood for, okay? Like I try to stay organized and I try to plan what I'm gonna read and it has not worked once. But this month I have looked through my shelves and looked through my Goodreads and really picked the books that I feel like I'm the most excited about, and hopefully these will be the books that I'm going to read in May. There is one book in particular that I'm 100% sure that I'm going to read this month because it is my book club pick for the month. I have a book club on Fable, if you're not aware, which you probably aren't, called Better Read Than Sorry. And if you want to join, you are more than welcome. I'm going to link it in the description down below. It's really easy to join. All you gotta do is download an app and you're pretty much in. And the book that we are reading this month is There by Tommy Orange. I feel like I am going to absolutely love this book. Essentially, what I know about this book is that we are following a very large cast of characters who are all on their way to the Oakland powwow. I think we are following 12 different characters. Let me double check. Yes. Tommy Orange's wondrous and shattering novel follows 12 characters from Native communities, all traveling to the big Oakland powwow, all connected to one another in ways they may not yet realize, which I love. I love that as readers, we are going to be discovering the same things that the characters are discovering about themselves and about the connections that they have with one another. I really, really like that idea. I really do think this book is going to be unforgettable. From everything that I've heard about it, I feel like it's one of those books that are really going to stay with the reader for a very long time. I saw a quote of it online on someone's Instagram and it was instantly like, I need to read this. I need to find out what book they're reading and I need to read it. So I am extremely excited about this one. And something really exciting as well is that when I bought this book, I bought it at the used bookstore and someone had annotated it. And it's going to be so interesting to read someone else's perspective on this book and someone that I don't even know, someone that I've never met, I probably will never meet, but they left little notes and scribbled down their thoughts on this book and it's going to be really, really exciting. Sorry, I'm trying to find this one page. There you go. This one page where it's really, really annotated, as you can see. And I am so excited to read this and to see what this stranger thought of this book and to see if I have any similar thoughts as this stranger had. Yeah. This is the first book that's on my TBR. This is one that I for sure know that I'm going to read and I'm going to read really soon because obviously it is the book we picked for my book club and I cannot wait. Next on my list is a book that I have acquired very recently. In fact, I vlogged the day that I bought this book. It was for Independent Bookstore Day. And I have not been able to get this book out of my mind since I bought it. I just want to read it. And that is The Book of Form and Emptiness by Ruth Ozeki. I have read one other book by Ruth Ozeki, and that was A Tale for the Time Being. And so far, that has been my favorite book of 2023. I loved that book. I loved exploring the story, exploring the narrative, figuring out what on earth was going on in that story was so much fun. And I am hoping that this book is going to be similar. I'm hoping that this book is going to give me similar vibes and the same feeling that the other one gave me, which was that very unique feeling of falling in love with a story, of really being reminded of why you love reading. That is what, also, this book is so floppy. Look at that. that is what A Tale for the Time Being was able to do for me, and I pretty much bought this book without knowing anything about it. I only bought it because it's Ruth Ozeki. Just judging by how much I loved A Tale for the Time Being, I truly feel like I'm going to love her other books as well. This one is about this one boy called Benny, who is 13 years old, and he has just lost his father, who was a musician. And after that, he starts hearing voices around his house. It's like the objects in the house are speaking to him, and his mom develops this hoarding problem to deal with and to cope with her grief. So more and more objects are coming into his house, and the house gets louder and louder, and I feel like he cannot take it anymore, and he just needs to get out of his own house. And he goes to a library where obviously the objects are way quieter. They know how to behave in there. And in this library, he met a cast of different characters. I'm expecting this book to have a sort of found family trope, and I'm expecting this book to talk a lot about grief and dealing with grief and overcoming grief in the best way that we can. And I am really, truly so excited to read this book right here. I cannot wait. Next is a book that I don't have a physical copy of. There are a couple of books on this list that I don't have a physical copy of, that I'm either going to read on my Kindle, that I'm either going to borrow from my library, or that I'll buy eventually. And the one that I want to read is actually a big surprise for me because I'm not a romance reader at all, but I have heard so many things about this book. I feel like this book has generated such controversial opinions, and that is Happy Place by Emily Henry. I have read one book by Emily Henry. Like I said, I'm not big on romances. I usually read 1 or 2 romances a year, but I read People We Meet on Vacation, and I thought it was okay. It wasn't great, it wasn't bad, it was decent, but I have heard so many mixed reviews about this one, and I'm just so curious. I think this is a second chance romance about 2 people that used to be friends, maybe? Maybe I should have checked before filming this video. Let's double check. That's not true. My assumption about this book was completely wrong. It says Harriet and Wynne have been the perfect couple since they met in college, so they are in a relationship already. They go together like salt and pepper, honey and tea, lobster and rose, except now, for reasons they're still not discussing, they don't. They broke up 5 months ago. Okay, so it is a second chance romance. And still haven't told their best friends. Ooh. So I think they go on a trip with those friends, and I think they're pretending to be a couple because they're not ready to tell them that they're not together anymore, and that's what the story is about. I feel like it's going to be really interesting. I do know that Emily Henry has a very interesting way of putting real life issues into her stories and tackling a lot of emotional themes within her romances. I know that she writes romances that are very layered, that are not just feel good or like simple plots, and I have heard a lot of people say that this book hurt them, that this book made them cry, and I just need to know what it is about. I need to read it, so I do want to get to this book hopefully this month. Next is another book that I don't have a physical copy of, but I'll probably get it or get it on my Kindle, and that is Ghost Town by Kevin Chen. There is no way for you to know this about me, but I lived in Taiwan for 2 years, and this author is either Taiwanese or Taiwanese American. I'm not sure if the book is translated or not, but regardless, I know that this book is about a man who moved away from Taiwan to go to Germany because he wanted to live a freer life, free of judgment, and be who he truly was. And then a couple of years later, maybe like 20 or 30 years, he comes back home to Taiwan after being in prison for a long time for murdering his ex-boyfriend. And we are trying to piece together what happened back in Germany, but also what happened to his family, because when he gets home, nothing is the same, and the relationships that his family had are very fractured. And I think we're just trying to piece together from both sides what happened. We're trying to piece together what happened from the perspective of his family, because he left Taiwan, you know, as a free man, as a good man, and he came back and he had been in prison for killing someone. Like, what on earth happened, you know? And we're trying to piece together the story from both perspectives. It says, told in a myriad of voices, both living and dead. Oh, that's interesting. So we're gonna get some ghost perspectives, which is probably why it's called Ghost Town. That makes sense. And moving through time with a deceptive ease, Ghost Town weaves a mesmerizing web of family secrets and countryside superstitions, the search of identity, and a clash of cultures. I think this is going to be so interesting. I'm always extremely intrigued in reading stories that take place in Taiwan and reading stories that tackle Taiwanese culture because, like I said, I lived there for 2 years and I have so much love for Taiwan. I really enjoyed my time there and I miss it very much. So I just want to so I'm just hoping that this book is going to give me that little bit of taste of Taiwan and Taiwanese history, especially since it tackles superstitions. I loved hearing Taiwanese people tell me about their culture and their beliefs and things like that. So I'm really excited to read this one and I think it's going to be phenomenal. Next, finally, is a book that I have, and that is A Man Called Uwe by Fredrik Backman. My favorite book of all time is actually the sweatshirt that I'm wearing, Bear Town by Fredrik Backman. It's very shocking that I have not read this one, and I've had it for a year now because I feel like this is one of his most popular, if not his most popular books, and I have not read it yet. And ever since I read Remarkably Bright Creatures last month, I have been really wanting to read another book from the perspective of an older main character, and I know that this book has this. I feel like you probably know what this book is about because it has very recently been turned into a movie with Tom Hanks, but essentially this book is about an old man called Uwe who is very, very stuck in his ways. He lives in this neighborhood and he likes his routines. He likes to be very strict. He likes things to be exactly as they have always been. I think he's also dealing with grief because I feel like he very recently lost his wife. And you know, as an older person, I feel like it's gotta be so hard to go through that. I don't even want to think about it. And his world comes crashing down once this family moves in next door and they have younger kids. I don't know. Yes. A chatty young couple and their 2 boisterous daughters who announce their arrival by accidentally flattening Uve's mailbox with their U-Haul. What follows is a heartwarming tale of unkempt cats, unlikely friendships, and a community's unexpected reassessment of the one person they thought they had all figured out. I've heard that this book always makes people cry. I hope it's for good reasons because I'm not ready for this man to die if that's what happens in this book. You know what I'm saying? I am just really, really excited to read this one. I've always known that this book is going to be one that I'm going to like. Like, I feel like this is going to be an easy 5-star read for me. I've been kind of saving it for like a rainy day, but I feel like the time has come. Next is a book that I've heard about very recently, and I feel like it came out today, as in like the day I'm filming this video, and that is Chain Gang AllStars by Nana Kwame. I was told that this book has Hunger Game vibes, and that's really all you gotta tell me. This book has gotten so many praise from so many of my friends that I really, really trust. They said it's one of the best things they have ever read, like in their lives, so I really, really want to read it. And let's just quickly go through the synopsis because I honestly don't know too much about this one. 2 top women gladiators fight for their freedom within a depraved private prison system not so far removed from America's own. It's the return of the gladiators, and prisoners are competing for the ultimate prize, their freedom. Okay, that's interesting. So I think it's kind of like the Hunger Games, but what they get is their freedom if they win. If all goes well, Terror will be free in just a few matches, a fact she carries as heavily as her lethal hammer. As she prepares to leave her fellow Lynx, she considers how she might help preserve their humanity. Cape's corporate owners will stop at nothing to protect their status quo, and the obstacles they lay in the Turwar's path have devastating consequences. This is going to be really interesting. Okay, we're back. This is my last battery pack, so I hope it lasts. Next, I want to read a book that's coming out this month, and it's by one of my favorite authors of all time, which you guys have probably heard about. Maybe you've heard about Kwang, maybe, but Yellowface is coming out this month and I am so excited to read it. This is a satire story about the publishing industry where Kwang pretty much just says everything she thinks about the public industry. I am here for it. So essentially, this is a story about two authors. One who is white and the other one who is Asian American. And the author who is Asian American, I believe her name is Athena, and she has always been extremely successful. She's very good at what she does. She's a talented author. She has worked very hard to achieve the career that she has achieved, and that's just who she is. She's good at what she does. And the one that's the white author, I think her name is, let me double check, June. She is not as good as her fellow writer friend, and she always believed that she should get the praise that the other author gets, even though she's not nearly as talented, but she's extremely jealous of the amount of praise that her friend gets. And one day, that friend, Athena, dies in a freak accident, and June, what she does is she steals her manuscript and then pretends she was the one who wrote it. The book is about the unsung contributions of Chinese laborers to the British and French war efforts during World War II. So she knows that she cannot release this book as a white woman. So what she does is that she has her publisher publish her book under another name with like a last name that's kind of like dubious, which she could be white, she could not be white. I think she publishes as Juniper Song. And she has a picture of herself that essentially helps her pass as an Asian American person. And that's the book. It's a satire. It's criticizing the publishing industry. It's criticizing white privilege. And I think it's going to be a very interesting read. I think it's going to be extremely funny, but also very thought-provoking and right on. And like the message is going to be very on point because I feel like that's just R.F. Kuang's style. She tells things as it is. She knows her message and she wants to deliver it, and she does. So I am so excited to read this one. I feel like this is going to be such a fun read, but also a very important read in the sense that we need to be able to recognize our own privileges in many different industries, and I feel like this book will force you to take a step back and do that. So I'm extremely excited to read this one. I feel like I'm going to love it, and I hope to get to it in May as well. Another book that I'm hoping to read in May is The Adventures of Amina Alsidafi by Shannon Chakraborty. I really hope to read this one. I have heard such fantastic things about this book. I feel like every single person that I have seen talk about this online has absolutely adored it. I know this book is about a pirate who is an older woman. She has a kid. She has lived a very successful life as a female pirate, and she's well known in this world. And she goes in this one last hooray, this one last mission with her crew, because essentially one of her crew members' mom blackmails her into going into this adventure, so she feels like she has no other choice but to go. And that's all I know about this book, but I have heard that it's very fast-paced, that it's very like easy to read, but it feels like an adventure. It feels like a big quest that you go on with this character. This is going to be my little fantasy of the month, and I'm actually going to buddy read this with one of my friends from TikTok, and I'm really excited to do it. I have heard that it's very interesting to discover everything that happened in Amina's life, and because you are following a character that has already lived most of her like adventures that she's ever gonna have in life, I feel like it goes back and forth with past and future, and I am really excited to read this one, and I feel like it's going to be really fun. The last books that I hope to read this month are books that I'm probably the last person on planet Earth to read, but I'm gonna read them nonetheless, and that is the Hunger Games series. I have actually never read, like I already said in this video, I never read the Hunger Games series. I went through this phase in middle school where I was like, I don't want to read books, and I just didn't really read them, and I feel like that's when these were popular, either like middle school or like early high school for me. So I want to read them for the first time, even though I know most of the big plot events that are going to take place because I have watched the movies. But I really want to make a video where I read books that were popular when I was in middle school that I never read, and this is one of them. So I am so excited to read this, especially with the new Hunger Game trailer that just came out. That movie looks so good, and I want to make sure that I read all the books this time before watching the movie. So I am hoping to get through them this month because I feel like they're gonna be really quick and easy reads, so I am super excited to check them out. And those are all of the books that I am hoping to read in May. Like I said, am I gonna get to all of them? I have no clue. We will see, but I am going to try my absolute best. And these are books that I'm truly, truly excited to read. If not now, eventually, but hopefully I'll get through them this month. Let me know in the comments what are the books that you are the most excited to read this month, and maybe leave me a recommendation as well. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to my channel because I intend to post a lot more bookish content in the future, and please give this video a thumbs up. I really hope to see you on my next video. Bye bye!